I enjoy what I do as an actor, but I don't pretend that it's anything other than what it is. I'm a grown man who plays make-believe. I mean, cool job, but if you fall into what everybody else says it is, they'll have you believing that you're a better human being, which is a little twisted, but that's just a society thing because it's kind of designed to worship celebrities and movie stars, sports heroes. Well, since it is that way, well, then I'm going to manipulate it for my own benefit. Well, if I can encourage other children to look outside of their environment, their group, and realize that there's a world much bigger than the one that's in their hood, that their hood actually is the entire world, maybe they can, move in that direction. I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet, I feel. I've had people who have influenced me at the right time that changed the course of my life.
Who are those people?
Well, it's funny. One of them standing in the room. Two of them are in the room, actually. It's kind of funny. But, those type of people you always want, to be around you. I mean, one of them is, Paul Brown, who's in this room right here, who was like a big brother to me. I mean, he can attest that when I was 14 years old, I mean, he pulled me aside. He introduced me to all kinds of different music. He introduced me into photography. Everything just opened my mind up. This guy drove around in a car that nobody else did. You know what I mean? And it was just, this Renaissance man. I was like, wow. I started thinking from a different place. I mean, grabbing and to be able to grab onto that and say, wow, there go I, and start to move that direction that's invaluable. I think had it not been for these images, I don't know where I might be, because I mean I was really on that road where I was using my attributes, but in a negative direction. I mean,
doesn't martial arts teach you to use it in a positive direction?
Well, it may teach you, but it depends on how you receive it. I mean, if I go off and learn it well enough to beat people up or just be a hell of a fighter, well, then maybe I'm kicked out of the class, but they're not taking my knowledge back, So there's a lot of martial artists that, they don't stay and learn what the true martial arts is. Yeah, I know there's the ideal, but seldom do you really people stick around to learn what that ideal is. Usually, I mean, as a lifelong martial artist, I know that achieving a black belt is only the beginning. Most people think it's the end. That's just really, you've just mastered the basics, now you're starting. So, but yeah, it depends on the individual and where you use it. I remember Central High School, I was probably the most popular loner in the school. Everybody knew who I was, and I think I accepted the tough guy role and found it was a really lonely role. But I was accepting of it in the beginning because I was constantly doing martial arts tournaments, being written up in the paper. And it was just, there were teachers who could attest that they'd never seen me smile, and a few of them barely heard me speak. And I was just perpetual anger.
Were you trying to intimidate people, or was it just an internal anger?
It was just dark. I mean, I watched my son go through this whole thing, and it's just this. I don't know. I mean, I was angry at the environment. Angry at what am I supposed to be? I could not find a true representation of me or where I was supposed to be. And I just really turned inward, and it was all about building that armor. I trained constantly and in a forge and a fire of just this angst, and so a lot of my high school, it was about that. And later on, I mean, I surprising to everyone else that I joined the track team. People were like, "Who?" You know, I go to track practice. I join up, and they're thinking, "Who's he here to beat up?" But nobody's.
Well, would have been understandable.
Right, yeah. So they're thinking, well, what is this about? And then that was like kind of my beginning of really kind of doing a team thing. 'Cause I hated everything. I just hated everything. And I told my son this whole thing. I was like, even when I was his hero, like at when he's 11 and I could do no wrong. I'm like, there's one day you're gonna hate me. You're gonna think that everything I do is stupid. And then he's like, no, I won't. So I knew that he's gonna become this contrary person after a while. And then when he got 15 and it started to happen, I said, see, I told you. So then I actually worked in the reverse. So to prove that I was wrong, he would agree with me. One of the greatest things I think that happened to me that changed my life in Central High School was there was a teacher there that I felt quite a strong connection to. Was Andrew Carthage, who later became the principal. Mr. Carthage taught in such a way. He was just like an amazing teacher. He made history just exciting. I mean, you can hear him down the hall if his door is open, but he was just absolutely captivating as a teacher. And he really cared about this stuff. And when I got a note on the back of a test paper from him saying that I should really think about college, that meant the world to me, because even though I was a guy who almost never said a thing and I was just I was a perpetual frown, he saw through that and reached out to me. And I thought, and just that letter made me absolutely change. I mean, I got this respect from somebody I respected. And then later, then a teacher, Mr. Varga, he also saw something, because I started to really do my work, and he started to see the effort. And when you start doing that, these teachers become your best friends. And so that was a really significant thing. I mean, me not knowing what I was looking for, and this perpetual anger was coming from all of that. There's these desires that you like, whether it be just guidance from a male figure. I mean, that's significant. That's a huge significance in a one-parent household where it's a mom from a little place in South Carolina. So that male presence is just invaluable, and it can be incredibly powerful. And another thing was, add to that, one day we have an assembly, and usually I'm the ringleader of clowning somebody up there on stage. I'm watching this guy speak to the class, and he said something about he earned his walk, and he was a lawyer. And there was something about him that said, I said, well, if he could do that, I can do that. I started to think from a, wider perspective. I said, well, I'm a good arguer, so maybe I'll be a good lawyer. And this lawyer that I saw was not a famous lawyer. But yet, because this man said I earned my walk, and he had on a suit, and he says, they're not going to repossess my car. And this spoke to me. And that started me down the road. I mean, people like Andrew Carthage, Paul Brown here. These people just, I was hungry for that. I'm starving for it. That's part of the whole anger that I felt that, that was, it was making me implode.